Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Losing Your Parents International Radio Show. I'm broadcasting from Portland, Oregon. My name is Lisa A. Snyder. I have lost both of my parents to cancer in my 20s. When I was 22, I woke up next to my dad, who had died from Hodgkin's disease lymphoma. And when I was 27, I watched my mom take her last breath, who had passed away from leukemia. After being present for their illness and witnessing their deaths, I had to face life as a young person without them. So I decided that it was important to me to connect with other people who have also lost their parents. I'm in my early 30s now, and I write and I talk about my journey through healing my grief and working through life's challenges that continue to come up using creativity and self-expression. My blog is losingyourparents.org, and my goal is to bridge the gap between grief and joy at every opportunity that we have. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can contact me at losingyourparents.org or .com/contact. I also have a sister site, griefpost.com. It's totally anonymous self-expression. And if you go there and you just want to share something, share whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your heart, no one will know it's you. So today I'm going to be talking about the idea that the things that you think about after a parent dies. I'll never again insert something here. A recent experience I had this past weekend was Catherine, my partner, and I went down to Arizona to go to my Uncle Gene's funeral. And my Uncle Gene is my dad's brother, and he was as close as you could get to my dad. 7 years older. They kind of had the same mannerisms, the same hands, wore the same ring, same family ring. And it was important for me for Catherine to meet my uncle because, like I said, it's as closest to my dad as you can possibly get. And, of course, there's my Aunt Phyllis, who is the eldest of the three of them, and that's, also as close as you can get to my dad. So my Uncle Gene actually had a brain tumor, and which was cancerous, and lived 29 months, way longer than they ever thought he would live. And we went to the funeral to be support for my family and also to pay respects to a very honorable person, somebody who had a lot of integrity and really gave a lot of himself to others and was always thinking about others and was a very generous human being. And some of the things I was thinking about, nobody shared this with me, but these are the things that I had thought about when my dad died, and I had wondered to myself if maybe my cousins and other family members may have also been thinking some of these things. So some of the things I think about are, and I'm thinking about my dad here in this situation because this was my Uncle Gene, because of the closeness in family relations. Going to be using the word him, but you can apply this to your mother if this is true for you, or any other person that was important to you in your life that is now transitioned to the other side. So I'll never again look into his eyes. I'll never again hear him laugh. I'll never again hear him say, "I love you." I'll never again hear him say my name. I'll never again feel his hug. I'll never again have a conversation with him. I'll never again get a phone call or a text, which is a weird thing because I remember when my dad passed away, his number was still on my phone, and I'm like, wow, I'm never again going to call this number. He's never going to call me. Maybe I should take this number out of my phone. And that was a really weird day that I decided to take my dad out of my phone. I also took my mom out of my phone pretty quickly, too. I couldn't stand looking at it knowing that I couldn't call. I took them out of favorites. So when I think about these things, I'll never again look into his eyes. I try to visualize what it was like to look into his eyes. And this is especially helpful if the transition was recent, because things are way more at the surface of your memory than if, let's say, it's been a couple of years or longer. But I try to visualize, when I think of I'll never look at his eyes again, it's true you'll never see them in the way that you've known. But if you can remember back to all of the times that you looked into his eyes, maybe there's a specific time that you looked into his eyes, try and burn that into your memory. Because when you think of the statement, I'll never look at his eyes, you'll be able to recall a time that you can and you did look into his eyes, and you will feel a similar feeling. It's not going to be the same as actually looking into his eyes, but is way closer than not looking into his eyes at all. So the visualization of looking into your parents' eyes, your mom or dad's eyes, remembering a special time that they were looking at you, trying to remember any of the details, not just the look, but what were they wearing? What did their hair look like? Who was around? What kind of feelings were you feeling when you were looking at them? Hopefully it's a positive memory you're selecting. You can also visualize something that didn't happen. You can put yourself, maybe they're sitting on the couch in front of you. Like, I have a couch in my office right now, and I'm, like, thinking, what would it be like if my dad were sitting here looking at me? And start to visualize. You can close your eyes and visualize them looking at you, you looking at them, a smile, some kind of emotional connection to this visualization will help you to bring it up next time you're feeling like, I'll never look at his eyes again. Another thing you can do is, if you have these things, you can and you can find pictures or video to look at them again. This is especially helpful if your mom or dad is actually looking at the camera versus looking away from the camera, because there's an emotional connection when you look into somebody's eyes, even if it is just a picture or just a video. So see if you can, and if it's if it's available to you, to look at pictures, especially those that your mom or dad is actually looking into the camera, because that can assist you with recalling some details. Maybe even forgot what color eyes they had. Were they light brown or dark brown? Did they have a little bit of green in them? These are the things that begin to fade away when you don't look into their eyes as often as you once did. And especially if the death was recent, it's important to burn these things into your memory as quickly as you can. I've been thinking a lot about my uncle, and before bed I visualize all the times that we spent together, all the laughter that we had, every time he looked at me, every time I looked at him, trying to remember what it was like, because I'm not going to experience it in the same way, but I can recall it back into my brain and into my vision and visualize that exchange. The same thing with the laughter. If you can recall times where you had an exchange of laughter with your mom or dad, this is really fun, because there's so many times I can pull up. There was a time that Christmas time, I used to watch Pee-wee's Christmas special with my dad, and he actually found it funny, and I thought it was hilarious, and we would look at each other and laugh, and I actually watched Pee-wee's Christmas special this past holiday season, and I just felt like that connection with my dad, and thinking about how silly we were being together, and I could recall our laughter. So you can do the same thing. You can visualize time that has gone by where you had a fun exchange, and there could be thousands of opportunities there. So pluck as many as you can relive them in your mind. This is really important. Relive them as if they had just happened 5 minutes ago, because you're going to press into your memory those things, and in 10 years or 20 years, you want to be able to recall that time, because time will go by, and if you don't burn these things into your memories, you'll lose some of the details. So try and remember as much as possible. Again, video and pictures are really helpful. Yeah. As far as hearing him say, "I love you," him or her, another visualization that you can do. You can visualize when they said "I love you." If you don't remember any times where they said "I love you," maybe your parents weren't as affectionate, or they didn't say that often. Visualize them saying it now. Close your eyes. Visualize the time when they were healthy, and then they're when you remember them in like the best place in their lives, where they were the healthiest and happiest, and then visualizing them saying "I love you," and do that again and again and again and again, and then you'll be able to recall when you're missing them and you're wishing for an "I love you" from a parent. You can recall this memory and this thought. Again, pictures, video. Maybe you have a video of them saying "I love you." That's a really beautiful thing if you do, because then that's kind of locked in, and you don't have to recall a memory. You have it on video. Saying your name, and you can apply this to anything that I have not listed. I'll never again, insert whatever it is that you'll never again do with this person. I'll never again, go on a car ride with them. Visualize them sitting next to you. Ask them for visits. If you're open to, I believe, there's energy cannot be created or destroyed, and so when someone leaves their body, I believe that they go somewhere else. The book, The Real Truth About Death, by P.M.H. Atwater, is a great resource, in my opinion, for learning a little bit more about life after death. Visualize them, ask them to come visit. Maybe, you ask them again and again, like, "I'd love to laugh with you again, can you come visit me in a dream?" And maybe they do. Maybe you have an exchange. And how beautiful. If you do kind of ask for them to visit you in a dream, and you feel like what it is a visit, hold on to that memory. Try and go over and over in your mind all of the details of that particular dream, because that's way more fresh than like 10 years ago trying to visualize, what it would have been like to have a laugh with your parents. So to burn those things into your memory, try as hard as you can to remember as much as you can. I'm just going to check in here with social media. So our friend Naz out there in India stays up late listening to the show. Hello. I'm happy to hear you too. So he says, looking at their pics takes you more deep into those memories, and somehow it weakens. So I'd like to hear more about that. What do you mean by that? What is it? What does it weaken? I'm interested to know your thoughts about that. Some of the other things, this was a really big deal for me. Father-daughter dances. They're going to be at every single wedding I ever go to. Sometimes they're at bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. There's always some kind of father-daughter dance somewhere. And one of my most fun memories of my Uncle Gene was that I was at my cousin Haley's bat mitzvah. My dad had died recently. They announced the father-daughter dance. That it was, fathers, bring your daughters onto the dance floor. And oh my God, my heart always sinks into my stomach every time I hear that. And I'm like, okay, here we go. This is something I have to deal with every single time I go to a thing, a celebration of some sort, and everyone's all happy, and I'm always remembering that I don't have a dad. And so trying to be present and to be supportive of other people's experiences when they do have fathers, and not trying to be jealous or anything like that. And that's really hard to do. When somebody has something that you don't have anymore and there's no way you can get it back, it's really hard not to be jealous sometimes. But so I started walking off the dance floor, and my Uncle Gene was there, and he grabbed me, like, as I was walking off the dance floor. Didn't say anything, grabbed me, held me close to him, and danced with me, and I started crying. And then there's somebody who actually got a picture of this moment that was so special for me, and it really meant a lot that my uncle and this person was able to, be there for me in this moment. He didn't have to be. He could have been doing anything else, but so it was a really nice experience. So I'm interested to know if you want to share on Facebook or Twitter what you will never again experience with your parent, and if you've had anything that you have done in order to help yourself over that hump, because there's going to be a lot of I'll never again ... insert something here. I feel like I often run into these things, like, or maybe not I'll never again, or there are things that I will never get to do, like something as simple as my dad coming over to fix my sink. I think about that a lot, especially when people still have their fathers and they're like, oh, my dad came over to my house and did this and did that and fixed this and fixed that. And I'm like, God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could have that experience, and how lucky you are that you had that, or that you have that. Some people still have their dads, but they don't have those kind of relationships. Maybe they don't hear I love you. And I think back to a time in my life where I did have a dad and I felt loved and cared for that short amount of time. There are people who never got to really know their dads, and my heart goes out to them, because I feel thankful that I got a chance, as short of a time as it was. I don't understand why people are taken from our lives so quickly, but I know that my dad didn't really take very good care of himself. And so that's something to think about if you want to live like a long time in this life, you have to take care of yourself physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I don't think my dad took very good care of himself physically, and I think it's one of the reasons why he's not here today. And I can't really blame him or get mad about it, but I can be conscious of it in my own life and try as hard as I can to be as healthy as I can. And sometimes it's not easy to do, when there's so much going on in life. And, I have time to go to the gym. I have time to cook. I have time to do things. For some reason, I stop myself from doing them. I'm not sure exactly why, what the deal is. So what else can I tell you? I want to tell you a little story about, so Catherine and I were the day after my uncle passed away, or I guess it was later that day, because he passed away in the very, very early morning. We were eating dinner at this place called Proper Eats here in Portland, and I was just saying to Catherine how strong the family is and how connected everybody is. As soon as I finished my sentence, the light bulb above our heads blew out, and I was like, wow. I totally took that as a hello. And, look out for those things, especially if there is a recent transition. Try and be really open to any kind of means of communication whatsoever. I believe that people communicate through electronics because that's the easiest way, because it is an energy source. And actually in the book, The Real Truth About Death, PMH Atwater, who died 3 different times and then interviewed over 3,000 people who also died, she said one of the times that she died, she bobbed up to the light source, and she could see her body. She could see people in the room who were there helping her to possibly come back to life. and she went into the afterlife and deeper and deeper each time that she died, and came back to tell the stories of the things that she saw and the things that she learned. And I'm really curious. I actually read it several times, and maybe it's time to read it again because I think it's awesome. Another awesome book is, and you can find all of these books on my website on the sidebar, losingyourparents.org. You scroll down on the right-hand side, there is books that have helped me. And one of the other ones I like, is because it's super simple and you don't have to read it start to finish at all. You can flip to any page, is Do Dead People Watch You Shower? So we've got a really comical title, but it's by a psychic who connects with those who have passed and, shares some information. Do dead people watch you shower? Yes. Yes, they do. They can, but they don't judge. That's the thing about that. They don't judge. That's a great book. Another great book, which I don't have in the sidebar yet, but maybe I'll add it today, is The Four Agreements. I don't know if any of you have read this book. Again, it's a really quick read, but it's about these 4 agreements. Let me just look this up really quick. What are the 4 agreements? So the 4 agreements is a book about these 4 things to sort of live by. Number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Number 3, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And number 4, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So I'm mentioning this book, which I will add to the sidebar of my resources on losingyourparents.org, because always do your best actually is emanating from me right now. If you're feeling a lot of grief and sadness around a parent's death, doing your best is going to change from moment to moment. So your best right now in your period of grief and it may not be the same as what it was when you were super healthy and everything was going well in your life. So you have to be patient with yourself and you have to be gentle. I said that a lot to some of my family members who I know are suffering right now, is just to try and be gentle. I don't really know. Sometimes it's easy to forget to be gentle with yourself, but, if you just do your best and this is all I can give right now or this is all I have, and you're telling yourself that, then you're going to just be a little bit less challenged and a little bit happier. The other things come into play in all of the aspects of life, that don't make assumptions. That thing is actually, that's really helpful and really hard to do sometimes. But if you are making an assumption about what other people think of you, which I have to take responsibility and say, yeah, I definitely have made a lot of assumptions, and they're intense ones, I'll share them maybe another time, maybe another show, what things I've been assuming. But I've been, if you're assuming something, that somebody is thinking something or feeling something, you may want to ask, and the best way to ask is actually, I'm telling myself a story that, example here, like you don't really care about my existence. Is there any truth to that? And that's really a very heavy question, but asking questions about what other people assume is going to give you some clarity, and it's going to take away all of the storytelling that you play out in your mind, especially the long-term ones. And there's a lot of stories that come up especially when you've lost a parent or two. There's a lot of stories that you tell yourself, and there's a lot of emotion around it, and it's really hard to undo easily. Not taking anything personally, I think that's a really big one also when grieving is, somebody might not call you back or quickly, or they might say something like, oh, he's in a better place, or, something, whatever it is that they're saying to you that you're like, whatever, man, like, you have no idea what I'm going through. Like, you might feel offended by something that somebody says, but if you try to work with the agreement about not taking something personally, you're going to save yourself a lot of needless suffering and feeling like you're the victim. It's really easy to do when you're grieving, and this is just something really awesome to try and remember in tough times. And being impeccable with your word, I don't know if this always, applies as directly to grief as the other ones do, but being impeccable with your word, speaking with integrity, saying only what you mean, not talking about other people or talking about against yourself, and using the power of your word in the direction of truth and love, like that, maybe that ties in with taking things personally, because if you're taking things personally and you're talking badly about something did or somebody said, you're not really being impeccable with your word. So I'm going to add this book to the sidebar of Losing Your Parents so you can check it out. I might write a blog post about it. But I think it's good to start the conversation about these 4 agreements. And the book goes further in depth into explaining them, but those are the 4 main things that I really think are really great things to try and live by. So we've got a couple of minutes left, and I just want to thank everybody who has tuned in and who's been listening. And I recently sent out a Facebook message that was like, hey, we're close to 1,100, thank you. So thank you for everybody who's joined us along the way. Please feel free to share information about losingyourparents.org by sharing it on Facebook or Twitter, visiting the website losingyourparents.org. If there's something, I'm really curious to know, is there something that is missing for you that you'd really like me to cover, that you'd like me to talk about? I would love your feedback. I really, really am very interested in what you want to hear, and who is there somebody you want me to interview? I haven't done interviews yet. Just getting started on just talking to you and finding my way through all of this, and I would really love to know what you want to hear, what you want to talk about, the topics that are challenging for you. And please feel free to write me at losingyourparents.org/contact. You can also write me on Facebook, facebook.com/losingyourparents, or on Twitter, twitter.com/losingparents. So I'm going to sign off here. You've been listening to the Losing Your Parents International Radio Show. Something important for you to remember is that you got to feel to heal. Thanks for joining me. Have a good day.